Cuba. Even the name makes you think of things. Classic cars, cigars, salsa music, revolution. But there's so much more to Cuba than just those things. It's like time stopped there, but it's also full of life and energy. Just 90 miles south of Florida, this island nation has a really interesting history. Spanish colonialism, African rhythms, communist ideology, it all mixed together to create something special, a culture that feels both familiar and totally different. Cuba will make you think differently and experience things in a new way. It's a country that has had hard times, but the people there are joyful and strong, and that's really inspiring. Cuba's history is a wild ride of colonization, revolution, and resilience. When Christopher Columbus landed in 1492, the island became a piece in the game of European colonialism. Spain ruled for centuries, and you can still see its influence in the culture and buildings. But the people always wanted freedom. In the late 1800s they started fighting for independence, which led to the Spanish-American War, and finally, some freedom from Spain. Then, in the 1900s, came the Cuban Revolution. Fidel Castro, a young lawyer, promised fairness and equality. When he overthrew Batista in 1959, it started a new era, one with both good things and bad. Cuban culture is a mix of Spanish, African, and native influences. Music and dance are everywhere, a celebration of rhythm that's part of everyday life. From the smooth moves of salsa to the catchy beats of rumba, music is how Cubans express themselves. Havana's streets are full of music. Musicians play on street corners, making music that's both happy and sad. You can't walk around Havana without tapping your feet. Cuban food also shows the island's history. Simple but tasty dishes like Ropa Vieja, shredded beef, and moros y cristianos, black beans and rice, tell the story of Cuba through taste and smell. Havana, the capital, is like a time capsule. Pastel-colored buildings, once grand but now a little worn down, line the streets. Shiny old American cars from the 1950s drive along the Malecón, Havana's famous seaside road. Old Havana, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a maze of cobblestone streets, beautiful churches, and hidden squares. It feels like time has stopped. You can smell cigars and hear dominoes clicking in cafes. Outside of Havana, there are more historical places. The colonial city of Trinidad, the sugar mills of Valle de los Ingenios, and Santa Clara, important during the Revolution, all show different parts of Cuba's past. Cuba's political history is interesting and complicated. The 1959 revolution brought big changes like better healthcare and schools. But there were also downsides. The one-party system and limits on freedom have been criticized. The U.S. embargo after the revolution hurt the economy, making things hard to get. Even with these problems, the Cuban people are incredibly resilient. They've learned to be creative and make things work. Small businesses are popping up everywhere, showing their entrepreneurial spirit. You can't go to Cuba without walking along the Malecón, Havana's famous seawall. This 5-mile walkway is more than just a wall, it's the heart of the city. At sunset, the Malecón comes alive. Couples walk, musicians play, and fishermen fish. The Malecón shows you all different kinds of Cuban life. People share stories, laughs, and dreams. It reminds you that even when things are hard, people find ways to express themselves. Cuban food is a delicious mix of flavors, just like the island's culture. They use things like black beans, rice, and pork to make dishes that are tasty and comforting. You have to try Ropa Vieja, the national dish. It's shredded beef cooked slowly in a tomato sauce, and it's amazing. And of course, you can't leave Cuba without trying its rum and cigars. Whether you like a mojito or just a sip of rum, it's best enjoyed with live music. Cuba is full of contrasts. Old American cars drive next to horse-drawn carriages. Crumbling buildings stand next to bright murals. Cuban people are as warm as the Caribbean sun. They'll share a smile, a story, or some rum with anyone. They're incredibly strong. Even with challenges, they love their country and culture. They're proud of their history, music, and their ability to find joy in simple things. Leaving Cuba is like saying goodbye to a good friend. It's sad, but you want to go back. Cuba stays with you. The music, the cigars, the friendly people. You'll remember it all. Cuba is more than a place to visit. It's an experience. It's a trip to a world that's both familiar and strange. A world that changes how you see things. Hasta luego, Cuba, until we meet again.